don't forget to smash the like button and share this video with as many people as you can. And if you have not subscribed to my channel yet, do it. And press the notification bell too so that you don't miss any of my videos. So without any delay, let's get started. And today, we are going to do the ultimate awesome JavaScript. And in JavaScript, we are going to do async. So now we will have two parts of async, part 1 and part 2, and this is the part 1. In this chapter we will do in this part we will do two chapters. One is the callback function chapter and the other is asynchronous chapter. So without any delay, let's get started. Dab! Okay. So JavaScript callbacks. I will call back later. So JavaScript function, so it is saying I will call back later. So a callback is a function passed as an argument to another function. So a callback is a function that is like passed as an argument to another function. So for example, if you have used the set timeout function in JavaScript, you must have seen that we pass a function to it, we pass a function to it as an argument, right? And set timeout is a function itself. So we are passing a function as an argument to another function. This technique allows a function to call another function. So this technique allows a function to call another function. A callback function can run after another function has finished. So a callback function can run after another function has finished. So now the function sequence. JavaScript functions are executed in the sequence they are called, not in the sequence they are defined. So these JavaScript functions are executed in the sequence that in which they are called. Okay, they are not not in the sequence they are defined. So they are not called in the sequence they are defined. They can be defined up or down anywhere. In the sequence. They are executed in the sequence they are called. So this example will end up displaying goodbye. So here we are defining a function my first, and in that we are calling my displayer hello. So in this function we will display hello, and in my second we are displaying goodbye. Okay, using the my displayer function. So when we call my first, it will do what it will call my first function, and I'll just show you. So you need to know what is the my displayer function. So my displayer, in that we are printing whatever it is passed, whatever here it is passed. So here we are my first and we are passing my displayer hello. And so whenever we call my first, hello will be printed, and whenever we call my second, we are passing my displayer to passing goodbye to my displayer. So whenever we call hello, goodbye will be displayed. So first we call my first, so in this it is printed my first, and then we call my second, goodbye will be printed. So we can't see my first because it is being overwritten. First my first is printed, and then my second is printed in the same p tag with equals to. If we had done plus equals to, so if we had added the text in it, then hello goodbye would have come. But if we have done equals to, that's why it is printing it, and then it is overwriting it because we are changing its whole value. So goodbye is overwriting hello. Okay, so goodbye is coming, that's why. This example will end up displaying hello. So this example will end up displaying hello. So here they are defined in this order, my first, my second. But if we call my second first, then my second will be called first. And if we call my first second, then my first will be called next. Okay. So here we have the same example, same functions, but we are changing the order of calling them. So hello is coming because first my second is called and goodbye is displayed. but then we are overwriting it by hello by calling my first, so hello is coming. Okay, so this shows that in any order you define the functions, they are they are executed in the order they are called. Okay, sequence control. Sometimes you would like to have better control over when to execute a function. Sometimes you want a better control over when you to execute a function. Suppose you want to do a calculation. So suppose you want to do a calculation and then display the result. So suppose you want to do a calculation and then display the result. You could call the calculator function. So you could make a calculator function and call it, save the result. So save its result, whatever it is, whatever the result has come, save it in a variable or anything, and then call another function myDisplayer to display the result. So then call another function that will display that result. Like here we have two functions, one is myDisplayer and one is myCalculator. In myDisplayer we are printing whatever it has, whatever we pass it, whatever we give as an argument, and in myCalculator it is asking for two arguments. It is doing let sum equals to num1 plus num2. So the two arguments that we pass, its sum would come in the sum variable, and then we are returning that sum, and then we are calling my calculator 5 comma 5. So 25 sorry 10 has been returned, so we are saving 10 in the result variable, and then we are calling my display result. So 10 would be printed because like we are passing result, that means we are passing 10. Okay, like if I give over here 5 7, then 12 would come. Okay, because it has, these both are added, so they are, its result is 12, and then we are displaying that result. Okay, or you could call a calculator function and let the calculator function call the display function. So like in the calculator function, instead of returning the value and then saving it in a variable, you could also call the displayer function in the calculator function only. So you could do my displayer sum, whatever the sum is has come, just display it there, over there only, and if you call my calculator, then it would be displayed also. Okay, you don't need to call my displayer again. Okay, so there are two like these both have these both examples have problems. The problem with the first example above is that you have to call two functions to display the result. So in this example we have to first call my calculator to calculate the result, and then we have to call my displayer to display the result. So we have to call two functions to display the result. The problem with the second example is that you cannot prevent the calculator function from displaying the result. So when you calculate this value, if you want that it does not display it, then you cannot control that, because like every time in this it will display the result. Now it is time to bring callbacks. So when you have these issues, like now it is time to bring callbacks. How to solve this? Using callbacks. JavaScript callbacks. A callback is a function passed as an argument to another function. So a callback is a function passed as an argument to another function. Using a callback, you could call the calculator function with a callback and let the calculator function run the callback after the calculation is finished. So like here you are creating a myDisplayer function, and in this calculator function you are asking for three arguments, a callback function and two arguments for adding. You add those both arguments, and then you call the callback function, and in the and you pass it the sum. So in the callback function we could do anything. For example, in the callback function we could save the value of whatever it gets in a variable. Okay, also like we do my calculator 5 comma 5 comma displayer. So let's do some like something cool with this. So like here we are passing my displayer as a callback function. So it the argument my displayer has been passed as an argument, and then my callback is my displayer, so my displayer will be called, and to my displayer sum would be passed. Okay, whatever the value of sum would be passed. Okay, so in this, instead of doing this my displayer, we could have named this my saver, so it will save a value, and then we have created a global variable x and equals to 0, and then we are doing x equals to sum, so we are saving the value for later. Okay, okay, and now it is saved, and now we are giving my saver as a parameter, so as a callback function. Okay, so in x the value of sum would be saved in x. Now what we do, if we want to allot x, we can allot it over here. So like if we do allot x, then the value of x 10 would come. Okay, because in my saver it has saved the value of the sum and it is 10, so 10. So we can using this, so what this shows, like using the callbacks you can do anything. You just don't need to display the result again and again, or you don't need to call two functions to display the result. You can save the result for later, you could display the result automatically, you could do anything with callbacks. Okay, so in the example above, my displayer is the name of a function. So my displayer is the name of the function. It is passed to my calculator as an argument. When you pass a function as an argument, remember not to use parentheses. So when you are passing a function as an argument, don't use these parentheses. This is wrong. This is correct. Okay. When to use a callback? So when should you use a callback? Exactly when should you use a callback? The examples above are not very exciting. So these examples are not very exciting. You could have used some other way instead of callbacks to do the same thing. They are simplified to teach you the callback syntax. They are simplified to teach you the callback syntax. Where callbacks really shine are in asynchronous functions. So we will do asynchronous functions today, right now only. So the callbacks shine in asynchronous functions, where one function has to wait for another function, like waiting for a file to load. Okay, asynchronous functions are covered in the next chapter. So the main callbacks shine when when we use them with asynchronous functions. Okay. Now we are on asynchronous JavaScript, and like we have done like half of the video, and let's take a short 15-second break. Sorry, I was going off the camera. Okay. 15 seconds break. Ooh. This is quite cool, guys. Like this is like you will love when you will create advanced apps a bit. Then you would like in your coding journey, these callbacks, asynchronous functions help you a lot. So this is a very good thing to learn. Okay, and now we have just understood the callback functions. Now what we are really going to do are we are going to use them with the asynchronous functions. Okay, so like that would be quite very exciting. Callback shine with asynchronous functions. I will finish later. Functions running in parallel with other functions are called asynchronous. Functions running in parallel with other functions are called asynchronous. So for example, a function is running and then another function is running at the same time. So that is called asynchronous. A good example is JavaScript set timeout. So I think I introduced set timeout to you in the callbacks function. I told you something about it. I don't remember, but I remember I said the word set timeout. So a very good example of asynchronous function is set timeout. Set interval is also a very good asynchronous JavaScript function, but set timeout I think is one of the best. Okay, asynchronous JavaScript. So the examples used in the previous chapter was very simplified. Example used in the previous chapter were very simplified. The purpose of the example was to demonstrate the syntax of callback functions. So we read this over here also, that to demonstrate the syntax of callback functions, we used the simplified like examples. Like this was one of the example. Like here we have my displayer function, and in that in a function my calculator, you are asking for a callback function, and then call the callback function in this in the my calculator function, and pass the callback function as an argument. Okay, so in that my displayer, you could have done anything. You could have allotted it, you could have saved it for later, or it could have done anything with the value it gets. Okay, so in the example above, my displayer is the name of a function. It is passed to my calculator as an argument. In the real world, callbacks are most often used with asynchronous functions. So in the real world, callbacks are most often used with the asynchronous functions. A typical example is JavaScript set timeout. Okay. Now the crispy action part. Waiting for a timeout. So how to use callbacks with set timeout? When using the JavaScript function set timeout, so when you are using the JavaScript function set timeout, you can specify a callback function to be executed on timeout. So here we have a set timeout function. In that we are calling my functions after 3 seconds. So this is milliseconds. We are giving milliseconds over here. 3000 milliseconds equals to 3 seconds. Okay. So after 3 seconds, this my function would be called, and in my function we are printing I love you. So after 3 seconds, I love you would be printed. Okay. So like wait 3 seconds. 1, 2, yeah. So like I was like, if I run this again, 1, 2, 3, I love you has come. Okay. So this is a short example, but a very cool one. So you see, this my function is a callback function. So when 3000 seconds is done, my function would be called. So it is a callback function. We are passing my function as an argument to set timeout method function. Sorry. So in the example above, my function is used as a callback. So we are using my function as a callback, as we are passing it as an argument to the set timeout function. The function name is passed to set timeout as an argument. So the function is passed as an argument to the set timeout function. 3000 is the number of milliseconds before timeout. So 3000 is the number of milliseconds. I told you that there are milliseconds before timeout. So my function will be called after 3 seconds. So I told you that my function would be called after 3 seconds. When you pass a function as an argument, remember not to use parentheses. So it is saying it once again. Remember not to use parentheses. This is very important because it could lead to an error if you give parentheses, and you would not be able to figure it out for a long time. Okay, so that's why remember not to use parentheses. So this is right, not giving parentheses over here. This is wrong, giving parentheses over here. Okay. Instead of passing the name of a function as an argument to another function, you can always pass a whole function instead. So you could pass a function instead, like this, instead of passing the name of the function. So what we are doing, we are creating a function, and in that we are giving my function I love you. Okay, and then in my function it is asking for an argument, and then it would print whatever the argument's value comes. Okay, so like after 3 seconds I love you would be printed. Okay, and why are we giving like this whole function over here? because we can't give brackets when we are passing a function. So like if I had removed this, okay, if I remove this, then it would not work. It has hand. Let's try it once again. uh, uh, like this, and I've removed this. Okay, and then yeah, so like it is not waiting for 3 seconds, right? So there's an error. Okay, I can't. Okay, so I can't show you the error. It is not displaying. There's no console over here, and the console in the Mac, I have to move this. That I can't. It is frozen, so that's why I can't show you right now. Error, but it is coming. Error is coming, and we have to give function. So like we are passing it a function. So we are passing it a function in which we are calling my function and passing it I love you. We could have also passed it like anything. Hello, subscribe to Saion Gupta. Okay, so like we could have passed anything. So like after 3 seconds, subscribe to Saion Gupta will come. And do that. Okay. So in the example above, function my function I love you is used as a callback. So this is a callback now. So this is a callback. This is my function is no longer a callback. This function that we are passing over here is a callback. Is used as a callback. It is a complete function. So it is a complete function. The complete function is passed to set timeout as an argument. So it is passed as an argument to set timeout. 3000 is the number of milliseconds before timeout. So my function will be called after 3 seconds. Okay. Now we are on waiting for intervals. We have waited for timeouts, but now let's see how to wait for intervals. When using the JavaScript function setInterval, so when you use the JavaScript function setInterval, you can specify a callback function to be executed for each interval. So you can specify a callback function to be executed for each interval. So like interval, so like in this example, my function would be called after every 1 second. After every 1 second, my function would be called. Okay. So like it is type of an infinite loop that will go on till you stop the program. So my after every 1 second, my function would be called. In my function, we are bringing a new date and we are printing d.get hours, so that hours will come, the current hour. D.get minutes, so the minute will come, and d.get second, and every second the 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 my function would be called, and every second the time would be update. So like it would be a digital type of clock. So like this, every second the time is getting updated. So like run. Yeah, every second this is getting updated. Every second it is being called, that's why. Okay, but if we had used set timeout over here, then see. So have I given it correctly? No, I had to give small o. Okay, then see, if I run this will come, and then it's freeze. Okay, because 1 second, in 1 second it is only running for, like it is only running once. Set interval is running for like every time, every 1 second, but set timeout is running only 1 second once. Okay, set timeout is running only once. Okay, so we could not have used set timeout. In the example above, my function is used as a callback. So my function is used as a callback. The function is passed to set interval as an argument. 1000 is the number of milliseconds between intervals. So my function will be called every second. Now we are on waiting for files. We did set timeout, we did set interval, but now let's see how to wait for files. If you create a function to load external resource like a script or a file, so if you create a function to load an external resource, for example like a script or like a file, you cannot use the content before it is fully loaded. So you cannot use its content of, like, you can't use the file's content before it is loaded. This is the perfect time to use a callback. So this is now the perfect time to use a callback. This example loads a HTML file, mycar.html. So this example will load an HTML file, that is mycar.html, and display the HTML file in a web page. So it will display the HTML file in the web page after the file is fully loaded. So waiting for a file. Here we have a display function and we are displaying whatever it is, whatever we pass it, and then we are creating a function get file, and in that we are requesting for a callback function. We are creating a variable request and we are creating a new XML HTTP request object. So it will create a new XML HTTP request. It will do request.open. So it will use the get method to open the mycar.html. Then it is doing request.onload. So whenever the file will be loaded, okay, then it would check the request status. If it is 200, that means it is successful. Then my callback will be called, and this dot response text. So whatever the response text, so whatever in the mycar.html is, my call, it would be passed in my callback. Okay, so like, and that whatever is passed, it would be printed. Else my callback error. So if it is not successful, it will give an error and plus request status. So whatever the error request status is. Okay, and then we are calling get file my displayer. Okay, so like my display is the callback, and this was successful. That's why response text was all this in the web page. Okay, so my displayer printed all this. Okay, because this was the response text. For example, we give mycar.1, sorry, mycar1.html. mycar1.html is nothing, so like it would give an error. It is giving error 404. 404 means file not found. Because it did not find the file, it is giving us this error. Okay, so you see the magic of callbacks. You can like you can pass the callback, and like over here you are calling the callback like this, like my callback this dot response text. You are passing this dot response text to it, and then it can do, the callback function can do anything with the response text. It is printing the response text, it is showing us the response text. That's why this all response text has been showed. Okay, in the example above, my displayer is used as a callback. So in this example, my displayer has been used as a callback. The function is passed to get file as an argument. So here we are passing it as an argument to get file. Below is a copy of mycar.html. So now this is a copy of mycar.html. So this is a copy of whatever over here is coming. Okay, all this is caused because of this HTML file. So in that we are importing a image. Okay, and then in a p tag we are printing all this. A car is a wheel, self-powered, and all. And then in the end we are printing Wikipedia. Okay, in it in a p tag. So like, because it was successful, that's why our my displayer function is showing the whole HTML files contents. Okay, and then the chapter is done. So thank you guys. If you like the video, don't forget to smash the like button and share this video with as many people as you can. And if you are not subscribed to my channel yet, do it and press that notification bell too so that you don't miss any of my videos. Thank you guys. Bye. Stay safe, stay healthy and keep watching my videos. Dab.